Evening, everybody. We're back live for another episode of Evermore, exclusively live to the Slide Rule Pass YouTube channel. As you can see, I'm joined again by a couple of familiar faces. We're talking our own J7, James Lynch, and we've got the blue tick man coming back in, which is Dan Wales. How are you, boys?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Chris.
Very well, mate. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good, mate. Merry Christmas to you both. Hope you had a fantastic day.
Thank you, and to you.
Absolutely.
Thank
well,
you. Yeah, you too, mate.
On Monday as well, didn't we, guys? Which we're going to come on to straight away, which was a fantastic game for obviously Newcastle United taking on Manchester United at Old Trafford. None of us Old Trafford, beg your pardon, St James's Park. What am I talking about? I've lost the plot completely. Too much Christmas plonk. But yeah, it was a fantastic game. Obviously, none of us give any of us any kind of hope in hell really going into this game. We thought we were going to be on the end of another battering against one of the top 6-7 sides. And the lads completely surprised us. James, just come to you first on this one, mate. Like, you were at the game, weren't you? What did you think, pal?
I thought we were outstanding, Chris, and I did say on last week's show, I thought we could maybe get a point. It was interesting because Man United had over 2 weeks rest before that game, whereas we had played twice over that period, and we just looked the much fitter and fresher side. And to a man, we were brilliant. Easily the best performance I've seen this season. I thought defensively we looked much more solid, so much energy in midfield, and a purpose going forward. And to be honest, we should have won it. I thought Man United were shocking, but we didn't allow them to play. I thought Joe Linton was unbelievable in the middle of the park. I know we'll come on to talk about him a little bit later. I thought Maximin took his goal really well, and to be fair, he probably could have had a hat-trick. De Gea was their best player, and he had to make a few good saves. Almiron at the end could have won it. Yeah, it was a fantastic game and a pleasure to be at. The atmosphere was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Glad you had a good time. Dan, obviously you went to the game as well, mate, as your usual attendance, buddy. How did you feel about it? Were you excited? Were you waving your flags? Were you jumping for joy, mate?
Well, when that Saint-Maximin goal went in, what was it, 7 minutes in? What a moment! What a moment! I mean, it's in moments like that you just believe that this club can be anything it wants to be in years to come. Really, I think it's, as I say, it's moments like that which have been so few and far between of recent times. Hopefully, will become something of the norm in years to come. But yeah, it was brilliant and performance was really good. And just to echo what James says, should have won it with the chances that we didn't take, especially in the second half. It's a shame we didn't get the 3 points. I think, and as much as Man United weren't good, I think credit has to be given to Newcastle because I think we made it so that they weren't good. We were the better side. Like people say, Man United didn't turn up, which to an extent is true, but I think it's more because Newcastle were just much better than them on the night, which I think we deserve more credit than just to say that they were bad. And I think you get a lot of that on social media and Twitter, etc. And so that's my little rant over very soon on.
No, well said, mate. I mean, I was watching on TV in Sky where you would have thought Gary Neville was at a fucking wake or something the way he was talking, He's
this is what I mean. Yes.
No, it is. He gave Newcastle very little credit. I mean, there is something magical about, a nighttime game at St James's Park under the lights, and we'll come on that in a brief second or two. But I mean, Newcastle were absolutely fantastic from the off. They went straight after Manchester United. They were in their face. They were aggressive, as James rightly said there. I mean, Joe Linton, unbelievable, which we're going to come on to in more detail in a minute. But, Manchester United absolutely shit the bed. That they wanted nothing to do with it. Varane's a world-class Rolls-Royce defender, and he was rattled. I mean, I know Maguire, he's obviously got a rick or two in him. He was shitting himself against Callum Wilson as well. And I was so proud of the lads. I thought they're absolutely fantastic. And they didn't look like a team that was second bottom in the league. They didn't look like a team that were in a relegation fight. For me, they looked like a team that they felt like they belonged, against Manchester United. And one thing I noticed on the TV, certainly watching it, and I think a lot of people have made light of it on social media, what a bunch of moaners Manchester United are. My God. I mean, James, coming on you, could you see that in the ground? Could you see them bitching and moaning as much as they were? It was horrendous, man.
Well, look, it was one of those things, wasn't it? When I mentioned it earlier, we didn't allow them to play. I mean, Ronaldo had his usual salt on, didn't he, the whole time? But they just don't look like a cohesive unit, Man United, right now. And they're going through, well, whether or not it's a transitional period, but something's not right at that club. And we've experienced similar situations at Newcastle with the owners, previous owners, and dressing room unrest, etc. Thankfully, we've turned the corner now, and we look to be going in the positive direction. Whereas that club seems to just be dropping like a stone. and I take great enjoyment from it because I've always hated the club, and one of your Lee's popped up there. Nice to see you there, Lee, mate.
Yes, we're on YouTube.
But yeah, I think
live, come and join us.
Yeah, I think that they look, to be fair to Man United, they do bring a good away support with them every game I've been at St James's, but a lot of negativity at that club at the moment, isn't there?
Absolutely. Just a quick one on Ronaldo. You mentioned that about him throwing his toys at the pram. Dan, just bringing you in on this one. There was a lot of talk about this challenge on Fraser when he kind of flew in with his knee. People were calling for a red on that one. What was your take on that? I think that's a little bit over the top. I think a yellow was deserving for me. But what did you think, Dan, watching that replay?
It was reckless and it was out of control, I think, is the one thing you can't sort of say about it. And it could have seriously injured Ryan Fraser, the way he's gone in not far from his head with his boots. It's not brilliant at all. Depends. I mean, I suppose it depends from what side we're viewing it from. I mean, obviously, our lot are calling for it to be red, probably. Others calling for it to be yellow. And at the end of the day, the referees decided that it was not a red. Yeah, Ronaldo didn't have his best night, did he? He was certainly the lesser of the two number 7s on the pitch, it's fair to say. But to be fair to... I have a soft spot for Cristiano Ronaldo because I think he's a fantastic player, regardless of what people think of him. And I think he's actually a decent bloke as well. Like, does a lot for charity. But yeah, he wasn't great, was he? He didn't have his finest performance. And considering he's had some great performances against Newcastle in the past, it was actually quite pleasing to see and quite relieving for once that he didn't turn up this time.
One of the best bits for me personally, and I don't know if you guys could see it from where you were sitting, I think it was the Gallagher end where he found himself free in the box, which I think everybody just shit themselves when they saw that. And he kind of air swiped it, missed it, and it hit him in the face and went out of play. And just almost in it like a synchronized swimmer action, like 50,000 Geordies went, wow, and give him the wanker side. It was poetic. It was beautiful, mate, to be honest with you. So I thought it was fantastic. But he certainly did throw his toys out the pram.
There were a few great moments in that game, Chris, and as you rightly said, one of them being able to take a lot of joy in giving Ronaldo some stick. But I will say the only disappointments to come from the night was the injuries to Wilson and Maximin, and it looks like Wilson is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. I saw earlier, which the message you sent me earlier, Chris, which is actually much better than what we originally thought, because at one point it looked like it could be months. But yeah, we are looking very threadbare at the minute with illness in the camp as well. So a couple of postponements over the next few days might not be the worst thing in the world for us as a squad.
Yeah, possibly. We'll come on to that in a second. Lee's just popped up in the comments. They made quite a decent point there about Ronaldo, that his attitude stinks. Fernandes has gone backwards due to his presence. Quite interesting. I was talking to my dad about this the other day, actually. And my dad's a Celtic fan, but he obviously watches every football match going. He said that he doesn't think them two get along, which is quite interesting because obviously they play for club and country together. So it does make you wonder if there is something going on there, as you rightly pointed out, James. But enough about them wankers. Let's move on to us. And as you rightly said, James, the injuries were bad. Obviously the Wilson one's major, huge, and thank God Craig Hope at the back post, as Dan rightly said before. We can always rely on Craig to come up and calm us down. When things are all going wrong. But if it's only 4 to 6 weeks, I suppose moving on to the fact that the Everton game is off, it's a devastating blow for the guys who are going to travel down there. Great day, Liverpool and everything else. The Evertonians are going absolutely mental about it because they obviously smelt fresh blood, thinking they were going to turn us over. But I hate to tell you guys, you're shite than we are at the minute, so we probably would have done you over. But obviously, it does give us a bit more time to get the injuries back. Obviously, St. Maximin's and I think Fraser's a muscle injury. So yeah, just bringing you in on that.
At all from what Craig Hope was saying either.
So I'm just laughing at Lee here. Craig Hope needs to unblock me. What did you do to him, Lee? He's a lovely
Lee, it was lovely to see you the other night as well. It was nice to see you.
I can't believe Lee Forster is blocked by Craig Hope. Craig, what's going on there? Lee's a decent lad. Unblock him, mate. Unblock him. But yeah, Dan, so what do you think about the game being off? Obviously, the Southampton game's touch and go as well. Do you think that's a good thing for us?
Yeah, because as I say, it gives these three, time to recover. Especially in a couple of matches where we really want them, considering how important these ones look to be, considering the teams we're playing. Everton not doing brilliantly under Rafa at the moment. Southampton, yes, they got a good win over West Ham the other night. That was good, but again, they're a team in that sort of midst. As Mark says here, cancelling a game and then we'll get a load of new players, and by the time we next play, probably
How
true.
cynical! How cynical of you, Mr. Farrington! How dare you! How dare you imply we're fiddling the books like that?
He just wishes he was in our position. Put it that way.
He does. It's a shame that they bought Danny Ings, mate. He'd have been a great buy to come in there, take over for Wilson when he was injured. But never mind.
Fairness, Ings, since Gerrard's come in, he's not really hard looking, has he? Too much.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a squabble in the comments. Lee saying, "Schmark, it's all due to COVID."
Lee, we want the gospel. We want to know why Critical blocked you. Come on.
I was going to say, watch it, Lee. You might get blocked by Mark as well. Mark never blocks anybody. So yeah, I suppose, yeah, I think you're right, James. Just to bring you in on that as well, mate. Do you think that obviously the game is being called off, or the Everton game, it looks like the Southampton game might be because of the lack of players? Do you think that's good? And what is the rule on the new players? Can we bring them in and can they play? If we delay the Everton game and the Southampton game comes on?
Well, just to talk about the Everton game, I think most of the fan base are quite happy about the postponement, apart from obviously the ones that were due to travel. But we've got a lot out with illness, COVID. I think Lee mentioned before, Darlow, Ritchie, Clark, Willock weren't in the squad for the Man United game. And of course, you've got long-term injuries to Fernandez, Lewis, and Dummett, and Manquillo would have been suspended for that game. So we are extremely thin on the ground. I think we would have only had 3 available defenders to play the game, and that would have been Lascelles, Schär, and Kraft. So it's no surprise it has been postponed. And as you rightly mentioned, it looks like the Southampton game on Sunday will follow suit. I mean, I can't see that's still going ahead in a 72-hour turnaround, which is a shame. You know, we all know Dyer was supposed to be going to that one, our good friend from True Faith, which I'm gutted for him. But, you know, there are many games. There's loads of games getting called off at the moment. It's just the way of the world now. And look, Everton are obviously the less happier of the 2 clubs. But saying that, they have a few out themselves right now, don't they? Richarlison's out, Townsend's out, and I don't think Calvert-Lewin's kind of back to full fitness yet. But yeah, it's a shame. But look, hopefully we'll have a few more players in for the next game, which I believe is a Cambridge game, the Cup game on the 8th, and I'm sure that'll still go ahead.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Mark's firmly zipped now because Lee's told him off. So I hope he finds a padlock for that zip soon enough. But Lee's given you some information here, Dan. We're turning into bloody loose women here, I think, with this kind of gossip going on. Wow. Historical disagreement when I was a young lad, I expect. Generally can't remember. I can't imagine you being a tearaway, Lee. You're too nice of a bloke for that, unless you were a wild child as a younger man. But I'm sure we'll find out what goes on with that. So I suppose just sticking with this topic, guys, just obviously talking about the match, and it was at home. Silly me. Sorry about that Freudian slip earlier on. So this is a bit of a front-loaded question, I suppose. Get in the comments, guys. We're live on YouTube tonight. Get on board and let us know what you think. Looking at that game, and I know a lot of guys have made reference to this on other podcasts as well. I mean, I was watching on the TV, and from minute one, the atmosphere was just unbelievable. You know, massive credit to War Flags for obviously getting the flags out for the guys to wave them in the crowd. It was unbelievable. The noise levels. I mean, Sky mentioned it on so many occasions. You know, but if you can get the crowd with you, I know Eddie Howe's mentioned that as well. So it's a bit of a front-loaded question, guys. I'm going to come to you first on this one, James. Is St James's Park the best home atmosphere in the Premier League?
100% yes. There's a reason we're considered the best fans in the country, and that's largely down to the atmosphere we create at home games. And we've always tended to win those online polls of best atmosphere in the Premier League, haven't we, over the years? And away fans always recognise how good we are at creating that hostile environment for away teams. And that's even after 14 years of hell we had to put up with it. And actually, the atmosphere was still very good week in, week out for the most part. And look, the Man United game was on another level. There's so much positivity amongst the fan base now with the takeover, the new manager, and etc. And even though we are still second bottom, Chris, you pointed this out before, you would never know that by the support and atmosphere at home games this season. It's been different class. I mean, the Spurs game was incredible. I was privileged to be at that, the first game after the takeover, one I'll never forget. The Brentford game, Norwich, Burnley, they were, again, exceptional atmospheres. And there's not one empty seat these days. And yeah, I'm just delighted I never gave up my season ticket when things were at the lowest than they're actually, because I never would have got that back and never would have got to experience us becoming one of the biggest dominant forces in English football again, which I'll no doubt will happen again one day.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, a couple of comments there. Mark saying it's the best noise he's heard at St James's Park in a long time. And I think Lee said it was all noisy because he was pissed the first game of the season. So that's good on you, Lee. But you know, I think to be fair, you know, you rightly say, you know, we've watched absolutely dreadful football for God knows how long now. You know, a second bottom, you know, we've got the worst goal difference in the league, and that noise is incredible. You know, I mean, and not even just for the goal, but I mean, you know, chasing down. There was a bit where, you know, Ryan Fraser and St. Maximum chased down De Gea. The noise was unbelievable. It's like we scored a goal from 40 yards or something. It's just, it's so incredible. And as you both rightly say, you know, there's no doubt that, you know, when the good days do come back, and hopefully we can stay in the league, you know, we'll come on to that at the end of the show just to get your opinion on that, if it's changed at all, guys. But if we can stay in the league and build upon that and get some quality in, I mean, my God, that place could just be unbelievable. But there was one particular player who got a lot of noise out of the crowd. And we don't normally do stats on Evermore. It's more chats. But Mark's bashed up a great slide for us here. And I think it's only right that we show this, given the unbelievable transformation of this particular player. So just take a couple of seconds, guys, to take a look at this. This is the Joe Linton, a.k.a. prime Patrick Vieira and Toure rolled into one in the game against Manchester United there. 90 minutes on the pitch, 65 touches, 37 passes, pass completion of nearly 80%, 2 shots, 4 key passes, 4 tackles. And if you just look at his heat map there, he was incredible. He was absolutely everywhere, guys. You know, and obviously it's clear to everybody that Joe Linton has been reborn from a crap striker to a midfield general. I'm firmly converted to a Joe Seipel, as we've always said before in the past, guys. I don't know about you. So Dan, coming to you first. Joe Linton, has he won you over, mate?
Oh, massively so. I'm thinking of naming my firstborn after him at this rate. The way it's going.
Steady on, you got to find yourself a girlfriend first, buddy, lad.
Yeah, no, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? I mean, when he first came, the price tag, the number 9 shirt, all these burdens that were put on him, and it just didn't work. He's played out of position in a league that he was unfamiliar with, and under a manager who didn't really know how to use him properly. And now he's come in under Eddie Howe, and he's been played in this sort of midfield box-to-box role where he can get around the park and use that physicality that he has and play the balls and make driving runs forward from his own half. And he's just a revelation, isn't he? There's not really the words to describe the change that has become of him. Obviously, there was the whole interview that he had with Sean Longstaff towards David. That's an interesting comparison there, Mark.
Mark's probably said that because he knows I love David Batty. I think he was actually better than David Batty, to be fair, Mark. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan, go on, mate.
But yeah, there was the whole interview at the end with Sean Longstaff and the reporter. And obviously, there was that question that raised a few eyebrows. It was a bit rude, perhaps, or disrespectful to say, I didn't realize you were that good. I mean, he's trying to be funny, clearly, the reporter, but I don't think it's come across that way. But he deserves so much credit, because you can see, I think even when he was bad, you could always see he was still trying, putting the effort in. And finally now he's getting that reward, and he's becoming the player that we want him to be, and possibly some of us knew he even could be. And so we're all Joe Seipels now. I should imagine that we'll be building a church to him. And
just in the shape of a big seven church on Heaton Road or something like that, mate. We'll find some space. Get some properly picked up.
He's just the goat.
He's been superb. It's a good comment there by Lee in the comments. So not many players can live with a confident Joe Linton from a physical point of view. Maybe Virgil van Dijk. He's a beast.
I think he can even dominate Van Dijk, to be honest, if he's on it, Joe Linton.
Absolutely. James, what's your take on that comment by Lee as well? Do you think many of the defenders in the league would be a bit scared of Joe Linton in this kind of form?
Well, I mean, it depends on where he's going to play moving forward. I mean, we aren't going to play him as a centre forward or a wide man again. As a central midfielder, as Dan rightly said before, he's been a revelation. Energetic, positive, physical, commanding presence. I mean, everything he touched the other night just turned to gold, didn't it? And I'm really pleased for him, genuinely really, really happy for the lad. I mean, I've been quick to criticise him since he joined 2 seasons ago, but we are starting to see a £40 million player now. And I think that central midfield role is perfect for him. I mean, I did a ratings piece for another fanzine the other night, and I described him as Robert Lee in his pomp in 1994, 1995. He was that good. And I think it's clear to see he's not a forward. He's not a wide winger, whatever you want to call it. He's only scored 7 goals for the club in 90 odd appearances, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out goal scoring just isn't his forte. But yeah, was he 25 now? He's just about to hit his peak in a year or two, and it looks like he's going to make that position his own for years to come. But just want to make a point on Joe Linton, and actually a wider point. And this can happen when a player is signed in one position and for whatever reason they find a different position is more suited to their style of play. I remember Gareth Bale was signed as a left back for Spurs and then went on to become one of the best wingers in world football. Another one, Vincent Kompany, signed for Man City as a defensive midfielder, and then was turned into one of the best centre halves in English football. So it can happen with players, and it looks like it's happening with him.
It's a hell of a comeback, as Lee rightly says in the comments. He's just done Dan
Sorry,
over
I've just
comeback since Andreas Townsend's afro. Lee, I must admit, I'm dying to know where Townsend got that job done, mate, because I could do one of them myself. I could look like Leo Sayer in the next episode of Evermore if I get the same surgery done as Andros Townsend did. Mate, absolutely fantastic. But no, you're right, guys. I mean, he's been a revelation. You know, he's had loads of stick. You know, and I was one of his biggest critics as well. And I think it shows a lot of mental strength as well by the lad. You know, he's a young lad. He's come to a completely different country. You know, he's working under Mike Bassett, England manager. You know, and he's
can't speak the language as well. Another
one. 4-4-2.
Yeah, 4-4-2. He can't speak the language, but he's, you know, it shows what the player's all about. Really, I mean, he's stuck at it. He's never really complained. He's never moaned. You never heard his agent in the press or nothing like that. And you got to give the lad credit. And you know, I think, like you said, rightly so, Dan, about the Longstaff interview. I mean, just a little shout out to Sean Longstaff. I'm a big fan of Sean Longstaff. I thought he was superb as well against Manchester United. He looked like he was back to the kind of player we saw under Rafa. But one thing about Longstaff I love the most is that you can see he really cares about the club, but he cares about his teammates. The way he defended Joe Linton when that guy said that, Dan, I thought was absolutely incredible. And to me, it really shouted like a captain-esque instinct to stand up for your player like that. You know, and I think Sky Sports need to take a good, long, hard look at themselves when they're letting guys ask questions like that. I mean, yeah, I think maybe it was taken out of context a little bit. The guy was obviously...
I don't think he meant it badly. I think he was just trying to create a little bit of humour, but I think it's come across in probably a way that other people have not liked. I think is the best way.
It has. Yeah, it's coming across quite bad. We've got a couple of great comments from Lee here, which we're going to save for Toon Transfer Talk in a minute. He's obviously got his finger on the pulse there, Lee. Well done, mate. But yeah, I think you're right. It's you know, it's a great turnaround from Joe Linton, and let's just hope whenever we play next, you know, he turns in those same level of performances, because I think, you know, it's been said by a couple of people that playing against the big teams and doing that, fantastic, but you've got to do it against the teams around him. And if he puts some performances in and he adds goals to the game, you know, he's potentially going to save us a few quid in the transfer market for you know, a new defensive midfielder or centre midfielder. But we'll watch that.
Do you think, lads, that just a quick one? Do you think, lads, that Eddie Howe has identified Joe Linton before he joined the club as a central midfielder, or do you think he's just discovered this in training? Because I mean, he's pretty much played there since he's come in, isn't he, Howe? So I think Howe had this in his mind that he wanted to give him that role.
Perhaps
he said, didn't he? Sorry, Dan, go on. You go first, mate.
I was just going to say, like, I mean, obviously, who knows if he's been studying? Well, to be fair, Eddie Howe did say there'd been meetings for a long while even before the takeover had happened that he could be coming in as manager. So maybe he has been looking at the squad for all we know. But I think even regardless, probably when as Sean Longstaff mentioned, how good he always says Joe Linton is in training. And so if Eddie Howe's seen that even when he first comes in, he's obviously seen that he's got potential in this place, and that's why he decided to put him, because clearly his scoring record speaks for itself. It's not great, obviously, and clearly that's what Eddie Howe's looked at.
Absolutely. Well, just before we get into Lee's better comment there, yeah, I think Eddie Howe did say that they almost put Joe Linton in that role in the Norwich game, wasn't it, when Clark got sent off? It was almost kind of by accident that they dropped him back in that role, and him and Tyndall kind of said to each other on the sideline, Jesus, you know, he looks fantastic in this role. And that shows real perception from a coach to spot that player, see that, hone in on that, grab him on the training pitch and say, listen, Joe, you were great there. Let's work on this. Let's play you here in training and see how you do. And I think, you know, you would never have got that under Steve Bruce. And just a great shout from Lee there. Longstaff's return to form and him shaving the dead rat off his face is no coincidence. If anyone didn't see it, Sean Longstaff, I think he grew a tash from Movember, but he still had it mid-December. And it was so bad. He looked like he was here to fix the fridge in one of those movies. I've never watched before. I don't know about you, mate. But yeah, so it was very, very dodgy, to be fair. But yeah, Longstaff was as well, guys. So yeah, I'm glad to see Longstaff back, and hopefully him, Shelvey, and Joe Linton can continue that form. Because we need legs in that midfield, and they definitely provided it. So just moving on from the game, guys, going on to some other news. Colaccini, the shagger of many wives, as the song goes. I don't know if he actually did. He was offered, but I don't know if he actually took it up, to be fair. Let us know in the comments below. Did he shag your wife? He didn't shag mine.
My God.
Just in case he was better than me. But yeah, Colaccini has announced his retirement from football at the age of 39. He played over 240 games for us, 6 goals. Obviously, captained us, won the championship. He even got into the PFA Team of the Year, I think, for the 11-12 season, the last Newcastle player to do that. So, James, I'm just going to come to you first because you're a bit older. So your memories of Colaccini might be a bit sharper, possibly, than Dan. But Colaccini, how you do, mate? Colaccini, what did he mean to you, mate, as a player? How good was he?
Fantastic. Easily one of the best defenders I've ever seen at the club in my time. Probably just behind Jonathan Woodgate. But no, Colaccini was different class on his day. Arrived in, I think it was 2008 with his good pal Gutierrez. And I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him when he first joined. He didn't have a particularly great first season, but something clicked in the year we went down. And in the championship, he was absolutely phenomenal. As you mentioned there, Chris, that 2011-12 season, when we finished 5th, he was arguably our best player. Club captain and first name on the team sheet at his peak, and was always a joy to watch. I remember I met him once in Florita's bar in my student days when I was probably about Dan's age, and yeah, he was he was more than happy to get a picture with me and really friendly, proper decent bloke, and just a gentleman.
You did stroke his curly hair, James, when you were there. Did you do that? Did you stroke his curly hair?
Of course I did. It was the first thing I did. He'll always be remembered amongst the Geordies, and yeah, look, I wish him all the best with his retirement.
Absolutely good show from Lee in the comments there. That it was an awful first season. You're right. That's probably why he stayed with us in the championship, because he was very ropey, but he was getting used to the league. So Dan, just coming on to you, mate, on Colaccini. I think James is right. One of the best centre halves we've ever had. Arguably, we haven't had as good of a defender since he went, mate. Really, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, obviously, this is a man who got into the PFA Team of the Year, which no other Newcastle player. I mean, to be fair, in that 11-12 season, a whole handful could have got into it, but they picked Colaccini, which is a testament to man. I met him as well, James, I must admit. Different setting. I met him in a bowling alley at the Macro Centre. Okay. Yeah, so not quite Floritas. I wasn't old enough for that. Then.
Well, you were too young then, weren't you, mate?
Yeah, this is about 2014, so I'd only be at the time probably 13. So yeah, I wasn't going to Floritas anytime soon, unlike yourself.
To be fair, I was going to Floritas when I was 13.
You had a beer when you were 13, James. That's what it was. That's what you got it.
Yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as Sean Longstaff's, though.
No. Yours is much better. Yours is much more rugged than I think Sean Longstaff's. If I try to grow a tash, I don't like Sean Longstaff as well. I don't like Keith Lemon as well. If I try to grow a tash, so that's why I don't do that. So yeah, Lee's jumping again with a corker comment, Dan. So proper shithouse too. Thanks, Lee. I love the shithouse reference. Remember him throwing 3'5" forward at a preseason friendly. I do remember that. He looked like he was strangling his son or something, didn't he? The guy who was that player? Let us know in the comments. He was so little, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember that. I've seen the picture of it several times. Yeah, who was that, Lee? Can you remind us?
I can't remember who the hell it was. He's going to have to jump on Google and check that out. But I generally can't remember who the hell he was. But yeah, he was a fantastic defender, lads. You both hit the nail on the head. I think towards the back end of his time, there was a lot of scary moments. He tried and overplay at the back, didn't he? And he got himself in a bit of trouble. I remember Suarez roasting him for Liverpool. But at that point, Suarez was arguably the best centre forward in the entire league, to be fair, and possibly that particular time. Yeah, you're right, Dan. So yeah, but I think we've got big fond memories of Colaccini. I think he'd be more than welcome back here in an ambassadorial role. Once hopefully we stay in the league and the takeover goes through. And everything kind of moves.
It has gone through, Chris, have we?
Sorry, mate. I know I'm losing the plot tonight. There must be all that Christmas bevy I'm having there, mate, as well. I'm for you. So, so Lee's met Colaccini as well. I don't think I've met him actually. I think the wife met him once, but she doesn't speak about it after that. So yeah, Lee says I met him when I handed him his car keys back one Friday evening at a weird house party, having retrieved them from a fishbowl. Was Mrs. Forster with you as well, Lee? That's what I want to know. That sounds like the chat goes, mate. To be fair, but yeah, fantastic player.
You're making me laugh.
We do a whole show on meeting Colaccini at this rate. Sounds like everyone's had a bit of time with him.
There's no the comments below. Where did you meet Colaccini, or where did your missus meet Colaccini? If you want to admit that, nobody else really wants to. But yeah, fantastic player. Big fond memories of him, and it'll go down in many people's all-time Newcastle 11s. Really depending on obviously when they watch.
Mark's came up with a player here, lads. Is it Rui Caetano? I'm seeing. I think is that from the comments. Is that the name of the bloke?
That's a nice segue, mate, because it's time for Toon transfer talk. Yes, so we'll come on to some of the great comments below as well, because some of the lads have banged in a few comments there. But I think just looking at the Toon transfer talk, so there's been a couple of names mentioned. Just to go on to them, obviously the injury to Wilson was a real worry to start with, and Craig Hope's kind of put us to the fears to rest there a little bit in terms of that injury, and hopefully he won't be out too long. But there was a name that pops up, and generally it's somebody I don't know a great deal about. Let us know in the comments, guys, if you do. It's a Brazilian forward called Gabriel Barbosa, or maybe Barbosa, as they say in the old Spanish dialect. So he plays for Flamengo. He's got a great goal record there. He's got 42 goals in 60 games, and he's also got 5 in 17 for Brazil. So he obviously can play a bit. He knows where the onion bag is. He's quite pacey and tricky. I've looked at some clips on YouTube, as we all look good on YouTube. I think if you look me up at football, I probably look all right on YouTube. But he looks like he's got something about him. But
Chris
potentially
Curry, 5-star skills. Welcome to Newcastle.
Yeah, Chris Curry crossfield balls. But yeah, to be fair, if you look at him, he looks like he's got a little bit about him. But I don't know about you lads, but bringing in a centre forward to cover for Wilson, if he is indeed more injured than he says he is, I'm really worried about bringing in a guy who's got no experience in the Premier League. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think we're at a time now where we can't afford to be perhaps blooding players in, because that takes time. The Premier League, especially when they're coming from a league like in Brazil, where it's completely different. The physicality is nowhere near as much as it is here, and so realistically, you do want someone who can come straight in and make an impact and have a good understanding of what British football is like. And so, do you want him? I mean, if we bring him in and he scores straight away, fair play. Lee mentions there Ramsey. Yes, I have just read that on Twitter myself. I'd take Aaron Ramsey in a heartbeat.
Fantastic player. Talk about Premier League experience and goals. That guy would give you that. What about for you, James? Ramsey, would you take him in a black and white shirt? He's getting on a bit, mate. Would you take him?
Well, actually, just to go backwards slightly and rewind, I mentioned Rui Caetano before that Mark had mentioned in the comments. He was the lad that Colaccini was strangling in the pre-season friendly. Just to clarify that. Yeah. I think you're thinking, who's this? Yeah, Rui Caetano, that was the bloke. Well done, Mark. Well Googled.
Yes, well done.
Anyway, sorry. We're going down a rabbit hole here with this, aren't we? Which is look, anyway, back to transfer talk. Look, 3 more days until the window opens. Very exciting. I mean, we have been linked with everyone under the sun, haven't we?
Literally everybody.
Before we came on, Richard there, Trippier in early next week. Trippier, we talked a lot about him on last week's show, didn't we, Chris?
In the know.
But yeah, just been having a look at today at the latest odds for who's going to be signing. I think Nathan Ake and James Tarkowski seem to be the current favourites of the bookies. Jesse Lingard, Dean Henderson, Ross Barkley, Dele Alli, they're very high up on the list. Aaron Ramsey as well, who you asked about before. 100% would take Aaron Ramsey in a heartbeat. I think he would improve our midfield dramatically. Another one I've been reading about today, Adama Traore, has been mentioned. But I think, look, we've got to be looking apart from the obvious defensive reinforcements at a new striker. And as mentioned before, Wilson could be out for 6 weeks. He's injury prone as it is at 29. He'll be 30 soon, and he's not getting any younger. I'm a huge fan of his, but I do think a backup to him has to be a priority right now, and possibly someone like Ben Brereton Diaz at Blackburn. 19 goals a season in the Championship, just behind our good friend Mitrovic at the top of the goal scoring charts. I think he could be a really good signing. Still unproven at the top level, but could be worth a gamble. I'd love to see us go for someone like maybe Eddie Nketiah at Chelsea. He's a top player. Doesn't look like he's in Arteta's plans. Barring the odd cup game here and there. But I mentioned Vlahovic and Isak didn't on last week's show as well, who could be outside but long shots. But yeah, very exciting right now, Chris. And there's a lot of names being linked with us right now, isn't there?
There is, and just one that doesn't seem to go away, actually, which is an interesting one. I don't know if it's lazy journalism or not, but as Richard says in the comments there, obviously Gini Wijnaldum, a potential loan. Thoughts on that? So it's a good shout, Richard. I mean, for me, with Gini, I still think he's a hell of a player.
Only at home.
Only at home, of course. I was just about to get there, Dan. Yeah, but yeah, I think I would still take him because he gives you experience, he gives you quality. There's Premier League experience there as well. I think he's still got it in him. He's banging a few for Paris Saint-Germain, but he's had the game time. I think Lee's making a point there. He's saying he would take Ramsey over Wijnaldum. No thanks for Traore. I'm kind of with you there, Lee, as well, mate. To be honest with you, I think with the exception of probably using 85 bottles of baby oil, I don't really see what he does. He runs around a lot, he dribbles, but he doesn't seem to do anything else other than that. I think St. Maximin's a much better player than that, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's interesting. As you say, James, there's loads of players linked. James, Mark made a good point in the comments there, guys, as well. Again, just jump in the comments, guys. We're more than happy to engage with you. So Barbosa was very poor when he came to Europe at Inter Milan. So that's what would worry me about the lad, that if he's not up for it. I mean, there was a player that was linked, I think, a few kind of days ago, which I know we were talking off air, James. I'm a massive fan of Moussa Dembele. Obviously played for Celtic, my dad's club. People can say Mickey Mouse League, but he's banged in a lot of goals. He's got about 42 in like 70 games for Lyon or something like that. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, and he can obviously, he can adapt to the Premier League very quickly because he played at Fulham before. So I think that's less of a gamble. There is another name, Dan, bringing you in as a guy who loves Rangers or has a soft spot for Rangers. The name of Alfredo Morella has scared the living shit out of me. I don't know about you, because I think the guy's a maniac. What do you think about him, mate?
Yeah, he's an absolute mentalist, isn't he? Red cards galore from him, but I mean, again, it's like that one. Whether you think the Scottish League is any good, of course, like Dembele, he does score goals for Rangers. I think there's no doubt in that. It's just he's a massive hothead. It's a bit like who we mentioned before. Sorry, Mitrovic. Yes, but I'd say even more of a hothead than Mitrovic, to be honest.
He's like Mitrovic on steroids, isn't he?
Yes, literally. Yes, it's mad.
But he knows where the goal is. But yeah, I just think you can't have a player who's that volatile. We had that. Remember when Bellamy was younger, and he'd have that little streak in him, wouldn't he, where he'd be brilliant, and then he just out of nowhere he'd just boot somebody and get a red card. Like he did against Inter Milan, didn't he, at home in the Champions League? And got sent off against, I think he was kicking Materazzi or something, I think it was, his memory serves. But Mark's made a good point there about Adama Traore as well. No goals and no assists in 17 games. I mean, that tells it all to me, I think he's all fair coat and no knickers or Traore for me, mate. He's not my cup of tea.
I will say about Traore, I did mention him before. I mean, I wouldn't have him personally, but again, it's just a name I do keep seeing as being linked with. But everyone in the comments absolutely bang on. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's very, very overrated.
Yeah,
I do. I totally agree. I think he's one of them players. Yeah, he's one of them players that they all talk about because he looks a specimen, doesn't he? And he's big and he's fast and everything else. But if you look at his end product, he just doesn't seem to have anything about him. Give me ASM.
Now Trippier on the other hand, Lee, 100%. I would love to see him. In fact, actually, if I look at my number one preference to who I'd get in, he would be my number one. Trippier. I think he's a brilliant player.
He's a very versatile defender as well. Obviously, he's predominantly a right back, but he can. And has done for England sort of fit into that sort of, if we play 5 at the back, a 3 centre-back role as well.
Absolutely. He can play left-back as well if needed.
Yes, and of course, as we know, set-piece specialist can score a banger of a free kick.
Yeah, definitely.
And has done it at the highest level. European Championship finals, played for Atletico Madrid and in the Spanish League, and obviously did well for Tottenham as well. World Cup semi-finals too for England. So yeah, played at the highest level, great player. I'd take him like that. In fact, I'd shake your hand if we can get him in. And
Ward-Prowse is a great shout, Lee. I think Ward-Prowse is one of the best players in the league. I think he's the best free kick taker since David Beckham. He took his goal brilliantly against Spurs the other day. Phenomenal player. I think a £50 million bid would be amazing, but I'm not sure Southampton would sell him for 150 million, to be honest.
He has signed a new contract recently, hasn't he, with them? I believe not so long ago. But he's far too good for Southampton, James Ward-Prowse. No disrespect to any Southampton fans out there, apologies, but he's too good for that team.
Absolutely. And Richard's jumped the comments there. Note to March, latitude bad. Definitely for me, Rich, I think he's an absolute shithouse, to be honest with you. He came out straight away and said he wanted to go to Sevilla or something like that the minute Newcastle were linked. I think he's been shit at Manchester United, to be honest with you. If you look at the service he's had and that club as well, I think he's been really poor, and I wouldn't want him anywhere near our club, to be honest with you. Lee's on the wine. Brilliant comments here, Lee. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a specimen too, but he wouldn't get a game.
I mean, it's a good, it's a very good point.
It's a very good point, but I think he'd hold the ball up quite well, mate, to be honest with you. Stu's
Can you imagine Adama Traore in the Terminator? Now that would be one to watch, wouldn't it?
That would be good, wouldn't it? You're not getting bounced. You just like kick him in the kneecap. But that's a comment from Stu. Good to see you again, Stu. He's a regular on the comments, mate. Good to have you back. Sander Berger, I saw that one from Sheffield United, I think, wasn't it? I'd like to aim a bit higher, to be brutally honest with you, than that. I know he's a decent player, but I just think we could do better than that, I think, to be honest with you, mate. It's a good shout from Mark, Isco and Bale. I said this in our group chat, actually, lads, that when Wilson was injured, Dan's spraying the cash for anybody who can't see, is listening on the audio. But I think Real Madrid are obviously going to get rid of a lot of the high earners, and obviously Bale is one of those, as is Isco. I think those two would be phenomenal players for the club. I mean, Bale's an interesting one, because when he went to Spurs, if you think about how he ended it at Spurs, he actually ended quite well. He banged in a few goals. He was looking quite sharp, if you remember. And when Wilson got injured, I think I said in the group, in the comments, we were chatting in the chat, didn't I, that you could play Bale up front until Wilson got fit, and then when he gets fit, you've got another option out wide. I mean, what's your take on Bale, guys? Stay clear? Is he finished, or would you have a bit of Bale at Newcastle?
I don't think he's finished yet. I mean, obviously, he'd probably prefer to be on the golf course, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, he did show last season that he could still do it in the Premier League and still score a few goals. I mean, fair play, but it's just all these players we're getting linked. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like, we are literally splashing the cash. Now, I mean, I won 100 quid on a scratch card the other day, which I thought was quite good. But I mean, this is some money that we're talking about.
Lads, we've already spent 500 million in the last 10 minutes on all of these players.
Exactly.
It's like some kind of hacking football manager, isn't it? Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yes,
it's great, isn't it? So exciting.
So exciting. Hotel. Yeah, exactly. I think he's been locked in there for the past 6 years, old bastard. How old is he now, Lee? He's 66, I think.
But going back to Bale, Chris, I mean, we were talking about Coutinho, weren't we, on last week's show, and about one of those that one marquee signing that we need, and then after that, the rest will follow suit. And someone like a Bale, someone like a Ramsey, someone like a Coutinho, that's going to get other players excited about this project, and it's going to be a statement to say, do you know what, we mean business.
Absolutely. I mean, Bale's still a big player. If you look at him on the European stage,
look, it's Gareth Bale. Everyone knows who Gareth is. It's got to be like that sort of Man City when they signed Robinho, that sort of like statement of intent. Sort of thing.
That's what we need. And as Lee rightly says in the comments there, Bale definitely didn't get a decent opportunity when he went back to Spurs. Yeah, he was a bit in and out, wasn't he, Lee? But I think when towards the end of the season, he was him and I think Kane and Son were linking up really well, and he showed he still has something about him. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a phenomenal player. But no matter who we bring in, guys, I mean, they're going to have to really have a massive impact straight away, because whether we like it or not, we're still second bottom in the league. Richard's saying Luca Digne there. We definitely need left back now. We do, Rich, but I think Chelsea are getting linked to him now with Chilwell being out. So I think that ship may have sailed. James questioned his attitude, I think, on last week's show, whether he's got the right mindset for it. I mean, he's obviously fell out with Rafa, and Rafa knows this club really well. So potentially he might not be the right guy, but he might end up Chelsea bound there. And obviously Richard's saying he'll have Bale as well, but whatever happens, guys, these guys are going to have to literally hit the ground running, whenever we get the next game. So after seeing what you saw against Manchester United, and if you throw in any one of these recruits that we've just been talking about, surely would improve the side. Do you think we've got enough to stay up? I mean, it's a hell of an ask still. James, come to you first, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, after seeing the Man United game, I'm convinced we're going to stay up now. It's not going to be easy. But we've got enough, and I know we're going to spend in January. This is not one of those windows you're going into thinking, do you know what, we're probably only going to get maybe 1 or 2 on loan if we're lucky. Things have changed. Things are different now. We are going to spend, and I think if players are looking at the likes of the Man United performance, they'll want to join this club. They'll want to play at St James's Park. They'll want to play in in front of the 52,000 screaming fans. And someone Lee mentioned there, Cody, another one potentially. He would be a brilliant signing. But you bring in 2 centre halves, a fullback, a creative midfielder, and potentially a centre forward, and we'll easily stay up.
Yeah,
that's a good show. Dan, same question to you, mate. Does
well,
the Man United game
if
make
we
you feel
sign,
more confident?
if we sign half the players that have been mentioned just in this last 10 minutes, we'll be absolutely. We'll get back into Europe.
Top 6, top 6, top 4, mate. As the world's our oyster.
But yeah, no, echoing exactly what James has said. That Man United performance was fantastic, and if we play half of that also for the rest of the season, we'll be fine.
I must admit, I was quite pessimistic, I think, on last week's episode. I was really worried about, where we are and where we find ourselves. And I still am, to be honest with you, because it's not a great place to find yourself. But I think we're 2 points off Watford now. Yes, they've got games in hand, but I watched them the other night. They look really poor. We look like we're kind of up our game.
They look bad against them.
Yeah.
Yesterday I watched it. They look terrible.
Oh, it looks shocking, really bad. They're arguing with each other. Norwich were falling to pieces. Burnley have obviously sat there quietly, no games to play. It remains to be seen whether their game against Manchester United goes ahead tomorrow or not.
Leeds are a funny one as well, aren't they? Leeds, they can see for fun.
Leeds are struggling. Yeah, Leeds are struggling. Talk about Rafinha leaving in January. That's a massive blow for them if that happens.
If he goes, I think that could really hurt them. I think
that could relegate them.
Calvin Phillips perhaps leaving as well in January. That would be another huge loss for them.
100%. Lee's giving us a good shout there as well. Sorry, that's the wrong comment. So Lee's saying that Dennis and Sarr off to the African Cup of Nations. That's a great shout, Lee. That's an absolute great shout as well. And that's David Origi's another shout on transfer, Rich. That's a great shout. But Lee's saying that it could be as low as 33 to 35 points to stay up. Maybe even lower. That's a great shout, Lee. I think the league is so tight.
It never is 40 points anymore, is it? Realistically, it's only about 38 roughly now.
Certainly not now. The way it's going. I mean, obviously, these kind of games that are postponed have to be played sometime. But I think, as we said mischievously in the comments earlier on, that we can end up with a much better squad by the time we play those games. We could potentially win those games, and so could other teams as well. The January transfer window. But yeah, for me, looking at that game, it really enthused me. Because that didn't look like a team that were ready to give up yet. Whereas when we played Leicester, we did look like that. And I was really worried about that, and after the Burnley win, we just didn't seem to kick on. But looking at that, we were brilliant against Manchester United. We should have won that game if it hadn't been for a rugby deflection for Cavani and De Gea pulling off.
It was such a sloppy goal. I was so gutted because the defending for it initially was actually quite good because they blocked the initial shot as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He just punted in a rebound, and I was gutted, to be honest.
And to be fair to Cavani, I mean, his movement was brilliant. That's the kind of player that he is. But you've got to deal with it better than that. The lads just switched off for that brief second. That's why we are where we are. But Lee's given a good shout in the comments there. 8 wins to keep us up, 100% certain. It's a hell of an ask. But if you look at the next few fixtures, when we do get to play them, obviously we are playing teams in and around us. So you've got to say we're giving ourselves a fighting chance. As long as those teams around us don't pick up wins, then we can obviously kick on. And I'm feeling a lot more confident after Manchester United, I must admit.
The next game we would play, let's say, that is if Southampton gets postponed as well, which we think it will be Watford, and that'll be the middle of January. And by that point, you'd like to think we'll have 2 or 3 new signings in, and we'll give them a really good game. And I think we'll win that game.
Yeah, likewise.
Absolutely. And Lee rightly says there, they'll be weakened as well because 2 of their star players will be away.
Dennis and Sarr. Yeah. Absolutely. So we've got to fancy our chances there, guys. But yeah, that's about all the time we've got for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in the comments. We'll be back next week for another one. If you're listening on the audio, just remember to kind of drop us a like and follow us on whatever platform you listen to. And if you like this kind of thing, please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Evermore will be on exclusively on Slide Rule Pass. We'd love to have you on board. We're looking to try and smash that 100 subscriber mark. Please come on and subscribe, guys. We'd love to have you here. And we look forward to catching you next week on the Evermore podcast. All right, guys, take it easy.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Cheers.